Hey everybody, welcome to your first set of video notes for activity 1.1.1, a sketchy scene. As a reminder of the goals, which you can see when you access the online curriculum through MyPLTW, those for 1.1.1 are to document a potential crime scene using sketches, measurements, and photography, to follow established protocols for collecting evidence, and to record and analyze evidence to evaluate a potential crime scene. The most important one for this video is this second goal, following established protocols for collecting evidence. So, as you saw when you walked into the room, when you first saw the crime scene, just a quick rebrief on those. Police arrived at 10:10 a.m. at the scene in the Gentry Life Science Building. Of course, that is our classroom, but you just have to use your imagination and imagine that we are in a big biology lab at a university. And the manner of death of our decedent is undetermined at this time. That's the big mystery that we're going to be solving throughout the first unit here. We're going to be figuring out what happened to our dead woman in the middle of the room. There were no witnesses to her death that we know of, at least, though our decedent's friend, Taylor Diaz, the one who reported finding the body, and of course, our decedent is Anna Garcia, a 20-year-old female undergraduate student who works part-time in the lab in which she was found. So our big question for this first part is, how should the scene be searched, right? You have that scene in front of you right there in the middle of the classroom. How are you going to go about actually looking at it? And for this is where we have to talk about our search methods. So the main topic of this short video is all about these search methods. So you and potentially a friend, partner, classmate are going to need to decide on a type of method you're going to use. Which of these search methods is going to be most appropriate for searching the scene? So let's go through those real quickly. So first of all, you have the strip method. And the strip method is mostly used for large outdoor spaces. So think about, like, if there was a scene maybe like in a parking lot or in a field somewhere, maybe you'd want to use the strip method. And in this method, investigators, members of the investigation team, all line up, usually about arm's length apart from each other, and slowly walk and just search the scene. They line up along one side, right? Start here, and then they slowly work their way across the scene, whatever that might be, looking for evidence, looking for clues along the way. The grid method is very similar. It's basically doing the strip method once, but then lining up on another side and walking in perpendicular paths to the original paths that they walked. But otherwise, it's basically the same thing. Once again, team members lined up, about arms width apart, go on down. Then you have the zone method. Zone method is a little bit different. This is mostly used when zones are readily definable, such as in houses and buildings. So you have an indoor scene where, for example, if you were in a house, the house was the potential crime scene. Then, you'd have the kitchen, you'd have the living room, you'd have the family room, you'd have, if they have two of those, you'd have a bathroom, you'd have a bedroom, right? Bedroom 1, bedroom 2. These would all be different zones, and different team members can be assigned to those zones. Or a smaller team potentially work through them kind of systematically, one zone at a time. That would be the zone method. Next, we have the spiral method, and the spiral method is useful when there aren't really easily identifiable physical barriers. So like with a parking lot, you have the outer edges of the parking lot; those are kind of your barriers, right? But if you have an outdoor scene where it's just in the middle of a large outdoor space, like for example, especially if like open water. This is often used when somebody has gone missing at sea. There's a boat that hasn't been heard from or something like that. Or if somebody were to go overboard off of a ship, the spiral method is what we use. They start potentially from wherever they were last located and then spiral out. It can either spiral out where you start at a particular critical point, or you can start on an outer edge of some sort and then spiral in. Either one of those are for the spiral method. But these are usually, once again, going to be outdoor scenes, especially if there's no obvious physical barriers to work with, like with the grid or strip method, right? Those grid and strip method, you can kind of be like, okay, we've got the width of it covered, we've got the height of it covered, etc. Spiral method can be more useful when you don't have those obvious barriers. The wheel or ray method is used for smaller circular crime scenes. So especially if there's something where it's just, really confined to a single area, it's pretty small, then you can go for the wheel or ray. This is where you're going to start at a critical point and work your way out. So for example, maybe if there is a body or if there's an important piece of evidence like a gun or a knife or something like that, you could start at that point, right? And then work your way out. right? You start there, work your way out in one direction, searching, come back to the critical point, slightly different direction, search in that direction, come back to the critical point, slightly different direction, search in that direction, and so forth. Then finally, we have the link method. Now, the link method is not actually a particular geometric pattern like all these other ones, right? The first 5 we've covered have all been a particular geometric pattern. Link method's a little bit different. The link method is very flexible, and it can be used in all kinds of different scenes. And so this is one where investigators are going to try to just use the information that they have, the clues they already have, and like their background knowledge and understanding of how scenes are generally operate and where different pieces of evidence might be able to be found, and use that to kind of guide their search, right? So if they see something and they see that, there's vomit somewhere, maybe then they say, there's vomit. Somebody was either sick, maybe they overdosed. I'm going to go look in the cabinets in the kitchen to look for pills. I'm going to go to the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. That would be an example of the link method, right? Using the evidence you already have, the kind of pieces of the puzzle that you already have, and using that to guide your search and kind of work through kind of a logical manner that way. And so that's the link method, and that's a little bit different than the other ones. So what you need to do before you really start sketching out the full scene here that we have in the classroom is decide which one of these search methods you're going to be using. So discuss with your neighbor, discuss with your partner, decide on one of those search methods, and then you can get to work looking over the scene. You can also look at the next video where I'll discuss how to go about creating your actual scene sketch, which will be coming up next.